Hamas has released two elderly Israeli women from captivity and says it will release two more hostages soon. Narit Cooper and Yocheved Livhiz will be freed on what Hamas calls humanitarian grounds. Another 220 people are being held hostage as the US pushes Israel to delay its ground invasion into Gaza to buy more time for negotiations. Joining me now live is Sky News US contributor Michael Ware. Michael, thank you so much for joining us. So what's the tactic here by Hamas? We've seen 4 hostages released now. Is there a strategy?
There clearly is. And this is the entire purpose of having the hostages. Not only are they just a human shield, but they're a way of drip feeding hostages out for Hamas's own perceived strategic benefit. We had a couple of Americans 3 days ago, and now we're seeing these pictures of these elderly Israeli women, grandmothers, 179, 185, being released through the Rafah border crossing into Egypt. And the Red Cross helped facilitate that. The Israeli Defense Forces now confirmed it, and we believe that it was negotiated by the Qatari government. This just illustrates the dark value, if I can call it that, of these 200 odd hostages. And, you know, it just shows us some of the many ways Hamas may attempt to manipulate their possession of these poor innocent people.
Michael, we've been hearing for the last week and a half how Israel is readying itself. It's got the troops ready to launch a ground invasion. As of now, of course, it hasn't. Why do you think Israel is delaying pulling the trigger and launching this full-scale ground invasion?
Yeah, well, we've just seen the defence minister going around and visiting with the Israeli Navy and talking about how the military is preparing for an air, sea and ground offensive, but it still hasn't happened. Now, there's a few reasons for that. Some we can only speculate on. Obviously, one of the reasons is the fate of these hostages. The Americans, we now know, are urging the Israelis to delay the ground invasion, to give more time for negotiations for the hostages' release. And also, you can't forget that there's only a certain window of Western support for Israel to go in, and that window is rapidly closing. I mean, it's almost a crime that after the horrors of October 7 and everything that Hamas did on that day, it's Hamas who's now winning the information war because of all the horrific pictures we're seeing of these poor Palestinian people and the destruction inside Gaza by the Israeli Air Force. I mean, the pictures almost look like, you know, images from towns in World War II, such has been the devastation. So that window is closing. It's almost as if the Israelis have to go in soon or don't go in at all. And the Americans are the ones who, I believe, are trying to hold the reins back on the ground invasion. And Israel knows that its moment to attack is winding down.